Hey everyone, welcome to the Acting Like a Mom podcast. My name is Alicia, and this is episode number 5, and we are feeling alive. Are we though? Are we? This episode is a quickie, and it's actually ironic because I recorded it when I was really emotional during my pregnancy, and I didn't want to do the podcast, but I had already booked the space, so we were going to show up. And I remember thinking, oh, I can't wait till I actually air this episode because I won't be feeling like this. I was starting to see the light. You know, when you don't really realize you're in a fog until you are out of it. You know, I get these like brief moments where I'm out of the fog and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this world? And then that's what helps me realize that I still am in a fog, if that makes any sense. You know, just those little bits of like beauty. I say all that to say this week was a freaking doozy. My in-laws came into town, which was awesome, amazing, stupendous that they were going to come and just take the kids. Take the kids. We wanted a break, you know. They got the hotel. They were going to take, Harlow overnight. We were going to, whatever. We were just going to get a break. And literally the day that they got here, the kids got sick. And it's the first time my daughter has ever been sick, and they were sick, not just like a little cough. They were coughing. We ended up having to take them both to the urgent care at some point because it was just getting too, you know how they say like after 3 days, you should take your kid in and make sure they're okay. Everyone's okay. That sounded so depressing. Everyone's okay. I had 2 realizations though with this week. One is that once you're a parent, you can't unparent. You can't take it away. Like, you are a parent for life. That's crazy. And I think of the sacrifices that you have to make, that you will be making for the rest of your life. And it made me think about the sacrifices that my parents probably made that I have no idea about. Like, there's so many things that they did for us that we just have no idea. They did that. And then the other realization that I had is I was grateful for being a stay-at-home mom. I'm always trying to fight that because I love to work. Working makes me happy. Working gives me autonomy, gives me a break. I just like work. And I was never planning to be a stay-at-home mom, and I don't think it clicked till he was like 10 months. And I was like, wait, I'm at home with him all the time. I'm a stay-at-home mom. It just didn't click. And not that there's anything wrong. I think it's great, but I just know that I like to work, just period. That's it. There's nothing else about it. Just that I like to get out and I like to work and I like to be a busybody. And then this week when they were sick, I was so grateful to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, wow, I get to stay at home with my kids, take care of them, comfort them without thinking like, oh my gosh, I only have 2 more days of sick days. I don't even know what they call them, sick days. I got to get back, or I have this project I have to do, which I did have a project. I had to edit this, which I'm doing the night before. As you can see, it's getting dark. If you're watching on YouTube, it just reaffirms that where my life is and where it's going is where it needs to be. Because if it was up to me, I would have been working all the time. I had to work one day while they were sick, and I was so stressed. It was hard for me to focus. I just felt guilty for leaving them. And it just made me think, I was like, wow, people really have to go back to work after X amount, in America, you have to go back, after 12 weeks or something? That's crazy. You have to leave your 3-month-old baby. Anywho, I'm just blabbing. Be kind to me in this episode because it's very vulnerable and I could just see the hurt in my eyes. But I will say I do see the light at the end of the road. This was just a rough week. So all the mamas and papas out there, if you're having a rough week, I feel ya. This is all temporary. We got this. Enjoy the episode. Hey. Welcome to the Acting Like a Mom podcast. I am Alicia, your host, and we are here to shine a spotlight on the incredible and often untold stories of mothers navigating the fast-paced world of the entertainment industry. Let's get to it. Lila. Hey there, what's up, and welcome back to the Acting Like a Mom podcast. I am Alicia, your host, and if you did not know, I'm pregnant. Like, really, really pregnant. I am 7.5 or almost months pregnant. It's funny because I feel like with the first pregnancy, like I knew the weeks, and I feel like that's how you're supposed to talk is the weeks, but For some reason, this pregnancy, I feel like I'm not as on. You know, like weeks are going by so fast, so it's a little hard to keep up with for some reason this time. So I'm like 7.5, something like that. This episode might sound a little like sad. It'll definitely be vulnerable. Let me start by the positive. This was planned. 100%. I was like, you know what, Jordan? Let's have a baby right away. You got to do it while I am not like all the way back, like because I don't want to get back to who I was and then have to come back here and start all over. So while I'm still in that space of like a new mom and just used to everything, let's just like go for it. You know, like the plan was that we would start trying in August, and then I feel like as August was getting closer and closer, I was starting to realize that I wasn't ready. And I don't think I was willing to admit it at first. I think in the beginning I was like, no, it's fine. This is the plan. This is what we're going to do. We're just going to bang it out. We're going to, get it done. And then that took like a lot for me to finally admit to him. I think I told him July that I was like, you know what, I'm not ready. Let's not. Like, let's wait till March. And he was like, great, awesome, because I was only trying to rush because you said this was the only way you would have another, which was kind of crazy to me because it made me realize that these were the pressures that I was putting on myself. So by the time I told him July, I was already pregnant. Yee! I just didn't know at the time. So it was, it was God's plan. It wasn't, I said that's what I wanted and that's what happened. So then I was pregnant. And then I just feel like after that, I completely kind of just zoned out. Like I pretended like I wasn't pregnant. It took me a while to go to my first OB. And I just, I don't know. I kind of like didn't want to admit it, and I didn't tell anybody right away. And I definitely don't, the first one, it was like, I got to record everybody when I tell them. I got to, make it special. And then this one, I felt like I wasn't ready to talk about it. And I know that obviously when you tell people about it, they're going to be excited and congratulate you and ask you all these questions. And I felt like I just wasn't there. Like I couldn't answer these questions. I wasn't quite happy yet, and I feel so bad saying that. I just wasn't quite happy yet, and I didn't want to pretend like I was in that moment. It feels so bad saying that out loud, but I feel like it was just, I had so many things to think of. I had a toddler. I had to work. I had to figure out how we were going to do this because at the time, which is this time, I'm not set up the same that I was the first time, because the first time was great. I came clear mind. I had just come off a fast and I was just present, meditating, doing my yoga daily. Like I was working out like 5 days a week. It wasn't like rigorous, but it was like yoga and like gym, and it was just like a whole happy time. And I feel like this time I don't have the same luxuries as I did the first time, and I didn't have the same money coming in, because the first time I booked 2 commercials while I was pregnant. So by the time the residuals would happen, it would be just like, it was perfect timing. Like I didn't use any of the maternity money I saved up. I was like big chill, and I was like, this is awesome. And then this time I didn't have any jobs coming up, and we just got out of a strike, and it was so slow. It has been so slow, oddly enough. Even though the strike wasn't for commercials, commercial auditions were like few and far in between. So I felt pressured to book a job. And that was just a lot like on me, because you have this window of time where you don't look pregnant and you're like, okay, that's like 4-ish months. So I'm like, okay, I got to book something. And then, so maybe I was going into the room with a different, I don't know. There really wasn't, honestly, there wasn't that many auditions to do. And then when you're pregnant, there's the middle where you just look like you gained weight. And then now that I'm finally showing, and I'm 7.5 months pregnant, I feel like now I have like these 2.5, 3 months to try and book. And I feel like those are all the things that I'm thinking of. And I'm not thinking of like telling people that I'm pregnant. That's like not on my mind to tell people. And it's interesting because I didn't tell people, and I didn't tell people for a long time, and people that are close, friends and family. And I think when I finally was ready, which was like at 6 months or so, I think I was like 6 months when I was like, okay, I'm ready to talk about it now. I feel like a lot of people were offended in a way, or I can't speak for them. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't like, I feel like people took it personal. And no matter how I say this, it's just like, it's not about you. It wasn't about them. And I feel like people took it as it's this is what it is. When it's not you, it's me. That's what it was. That's what I was trying to explain. But I feel like in that moment, I just needed people to just say congratulations and like let that be that, because now I felt like I have to explain why I didn't tell you. And the reason why I didn't tell you was because I didn't feel the same. I wasn't super excited about it, and I felt guilty about that, and I didn't want to feel guilty about that, so I didn't want to do it. But now that you're asking me, I have to kind of like relive that. The biggest thing that I have learned is that ignorance is bliss in this whole thing, because for your first kid, you're just like, I can't wait to see you, like you're so anxious when they come because you don't know what's about to happen. I know what's about to happen. I know what it feels like to not sleep for that fourth trimester. I know what it's like to feel all the aches in my body and where I pushed out a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what to expect. So I feel like that's kind of like the difference in all of this, because now I'm just like, okay, I have to do it again. And I feel like I just did it, because I did. I'm going to have 2 under 2. Like, Carlo is going to be exactly a year and a half when the baby is born. So there's going to be 6 months of 2 under 2. And I mean, it's not like anything magical is going to happen when he turns 3 or whatever. But I mean, that's kind of like nerve-wracking. And I truly feel like if I was working, then I wouldn't be feeling this way. I did not expect to be a stay-at-home mom. And I feel like that's where I'm at. It almost feels like I gave up on my career, but I didn't. I'm not. I saw an article, this is very, very random, but there's this Cascade commercial that everyone thinks it's me. Random. I don't know how to explain it, but there's a Cascade commercial, and if you look online, it's like, Alicia, is it Alicia Young? And it's not. It's not me. I feel like I gotta say that the Cascade commercial is not me. But there was an article that someone wrote, and it was like, I don't know if it's Alicia, because Alicia took time off to have a family, and I was like, I did not take time off. I didn't take time off. I am still here. And that kind of like, I don't know. And the person meant nothing by it, I'm sure. But to me, I was like, that just kind of like hit my soul, thinking that like I didn't take off time. I'm not, that's not how, this wasn't my plan to, it's just how it works out. Which is like, it's also great, I guess, because I get to raise my son how I want to. I get to be with him. I get to see all the monumental things that happen in his life. I'm a part of it. And I definitely think that I can't ignore that. But it is not for the weak. I'm telling you, going to work and being able to, like, even though people are like, oh, I was in traffic, I would love to be in traffic, and just cruise and then be in my own thoughts and think creatively, because you're self-employed. You're trying to find, we have agents and we have managers, obviously, but it really is like, what are you doing behind the scenes? There's always work that you need to be doing, so that, because work gets work. That's just how this industry works. So when my mind is on my child and not about what's my next, am I going to update my reel or my headshots? Like, I'm like, I can't even process that right now. And so it makes me feel like I'm not doing everything I need to do in my career. And I'm telling you, I just know that if I was working, I would not feel this way. Because I had an audition today and I just felt like, here I am, this is it. This is like, I feel so happy just having these opportunities now. And it's like, oh, all the auditions I took for granted. How could I? The big issue is that I had was, why is nobody talking about this like motherhood thing and relating to the industry and just motherhood in general that people don't talk about? Like, why didn't anyone tell me that things change colors, look different, grow bigger, get smaller, feel like this, all these things? And then I realized why, in my opinion, is because if I were to tell you all the things, you wouldn't want to have a kid. Like, it sounds so bad. I don't want to say all these negative things about having a kid and being pregnant and going through all these things, because it really is beautiful. Because the other end of the sword is this beautiful little baby boy, you know? And I feel that the problem is also I can't explain to you how much love and how my heart just pitter patters and just oozes. Like, I've never felt a love like I feel for my son. Like, obviously I love my husband, no doubt. That is my man, that is my boo, that is my main squeeze. But you couldn't, there are no words in the English dictionary, no way for me to explain how I feel love for my son. It's like next level, something that words can't explain. And so if I can't explain that, but I could easily explain all the bad things, it sounds horrible, but I'm like, oh, you have no idea. It's so worth it. And I know that just how I feel right now is super temporary, and this isn't like everything, and everything will be okay. But if you were to ask me how pregnancy felt, I know that it was the most painful thing I have ever felt in my entire life. Like, I thought that I was gonna die. Like, I remember that mentally, but I don't really remember it. Like, I don't remember how it felt. So I feel like that's just because, you know, you would know that you wouldn't want another. If you could really remember how it felt to have a baby, you wouldn't want another. So I definitely think that's a big reason why that happens. And the wild part is that it's really just my mind, and I am fully aware that it's my mind that makes me feel this way. When it was just Harlow, there was no other baby, no nothing, I was just like in bliss. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so perfect. I still think that, but like, everything he does is great, he's amazing. And then the second I found out that I was pregnant, I just started seeing all the negatives. Like, whenever I changed his diaper, I was like, oh my gosh, this sucks. I'm gonna have to change 2 diapers. How many diapers is that in a day? And then I would feed him, and he would make this mess. And it didn't bother me so much before, but I was thinking, now I'm gonna have 2 messes to clean up. This is gonna be such a mess. It's gonna be so horrible. Like, everything was just negative, and that was a thing. I couldn't get out of a negative headspace, and I don't think until recently that I was able to kind of get out of that. I'm still like not even all the way over there. I feel like I'm still not even all the way back out of it, you know what I'm saying? And I know that means that I have to do more work on myself. I need to carve out time. I need to use my time wisely and efficiently. When he's napping, use that time. Or maybe it's waking up. I feel like that's true adulthood. Waking up before your child wakes up to do what you have to do, to have your quiet time and make sure that you can prepare for your day. When you wake up at the same time as your kid, you wake up just giving. And I think that's something that I definitely want to focus on. Now that I feel like I'm kind of out of a fog. It's such a weird place to be. I'm telling you, it sounds crazy. But I definitely think that it's worth it for me to understand what's going on in my mind and give myself grace and share and have these open conversations. I'm like, is there such a thing as like prepartum? You know how people always talk about like postpartum or something. There's got to be something that's happening right now, or it could just be pregnancy and it's just my hormones. But all I know is this is not the same as it was for my first pregnancy. My first pregnancy was like, it was so light, you know? And it's like even just the little things, because I swore that I wanted a winter pregnancy, but let me tell you, baby, I've had both, and a summer pregnancy is where it's at. I like dreaded summer. I was like, I don't want to be pregnant and feel so big and sticky and hot and ugly and da-da-da. No, I was in my like crop tops, my maxi dresses, like the weather was beautiful, so I was going on walks all the time. I was outside, I was being active, I was meeting up with friends. And now it's like raining and cold, and I don't want to go outside, and it's just a different experience because now, I mean, look at me. This is not a crop top. I look like a marshmallow in this. Like a cute marshmallow, but like a marshmallow nonetheless. That it's hard to talk about things like this because I also feel guilty because I have other friends that are pregnant right now too, and some of them are not experiencing the same things, which I hope that they wouldn't. So I feel guilty that I have nothing positive to add right now, it's so crazy. I'm literally talking from a space that I know that this is temporary. I know my thoughts, my feelings right now, they're temporary, and I'm going to come out of the other side and it's going to be like, whoa, I'm glad I'm out of that space. I feel like that's where I'm at right now. I think for me, whenever someone would talk about like the hormones of pregnancy or like what do you mean? I feel like this is me putting into words the best that I can, just the loop-de-doo of my brain and how I am processing things right now. This episode is probably so sad and depressing, but it's not meant to be that. It's just, I guess, meant for the awareness. And I hope when I watch this back, I'll still share it, because this definitely feels like something that when I look back at it, like maybe we'll just shelf this one. Like maybe I don't need to talk about that, but hopefully I have the cojones to just share this vulnerable space that I'm in. Space as I am, I hope that makes you feel a little bit more normal, like if you're just not in that super like positive, blissful state, just know that it's okay and it is temporary. And I wish I could leave this message with giving insight and how I got out of it, but I just feel like I'm still in it, so I don't have like advice like you should do this is what I did, this happened. I could just tell you what it's like right now. And it almost feels like, even like how I was saying earlier, how I wasn't telling people anything because I was so not in a good space and I wasn't too thrilled. I'm having trouble letting myself be happy now that I was there for so long. That's where I'm going to start, is just letting myself, if I'm happy, be happy. I don't have to have these like doubts and negative things to validate what I once felt. I just, for some reason, I feel like I'm holding myself in the same spot. I know how much effort I have to put in, like, when you're in a funk to try and get positive, go to the gym, go to the beach, go for a walk, like I know it's all possible. It's just a little bit harder now because the effort of doing it with a kid, like, there's certain things that I can do and there's certain things that I just can't, and that's just what it is. And I think relearning what I can do with a child will be crucial to getting out of this funk that I'm in, Things like facials. I need to just realize that it's just going to look a little bit different. Maybe you're not going to do the whole thing, but you can do the mask, like at least do one good thing for yourself. The approach that I've been trying to take is just changing my mindset from, I do this to make me feel better, to switching it to like, okay, I do this, but what's the modified version with the kid? This is my process and this is what I'm still learning because I'm fairly new mom, right? Am I still a new mom? Are you still a new mom at this time? My son's 15 months. Am I still a new mom? I don't know. In the end, I mean, life is good. Like, life is so beautiful. Like, when you sit back and you think of all the things that you have and all the love and support, whether it's from afar or near, I need to just find a space where I am not, like, my self-worth isn't based off of the work that I book or the work that I can't control. If I can create work, then that's great. But I think finding like joy in my own things, even just this, I feel like this podcast is giving me that. That's why, another reason why I was pushing it, I was like, look, you need to find your voice again, you need to find you. And I think that this is just a great way as well for me to find that. I could have a million reasons why I wouldn't have started this podcast, especially at this time, but I think that it is definitely going to do more good for me than it would bad. And then I think that it would help other people as well. So still out of breath. I guess I guess that's it. That's all I have to say about that. I hope that this wasn't I hope that this was more encouraging for people that are in a space that maybe aren't that bright, that it's okay. It's temporary. We got this. And so, yeah, until next week, I hope that you have a positive, fun motherhood, because motherhood is the best hood. I will say that till I'm blue in the face. Seriously. Find some mom friends, you know? They're cool and they like to have fun when they get out, when they have child-free time. So, yeah. Thank you so much for listening. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here with me. If you liked what you heard, put a ding on it. Don't forget to rate and review. And remember, motherhood is the best hood.